to You Are the Medicine. Today we have a beautiful divine sister from Align by Design. You will have seen her. She is a shining, guiding light. She is a leader. She is a mom of 3 little ones. She also runs her business at a multi-7-figure level. She is the beautiful Amy Elizabeth from Align by Design. Thank you so much for being here, Amy. I'm so looking forward to this conversation.
Thank you, Mary Kate. I'm so excited too. I love you. I adore you, everything about you. So it's an honor to be talking with you today.
Yay! So I spoke to you just off camera a little bit, and essentially this series, we are discussing this, You Are the Medicine. You know, there's a lot of conversation in healing, in spirituality, in coaching, in leadership, in all of these different arenas that are kind of moving towards, you have something inside of you. Are you ready to notice it? Are you ready to let that shine? Are you ready to move into your personal unique path? And I've found in my work particularly that the conditioning or wounds that we potentially feel as we're growing up can actually drive us towards this wisdom. And if we are courageous enough to embody that wisdom, we are exponentially blessed in our life. And that is what I would call wealth. And it doesn't have to be financial wealth, but it certainly is something that comes along with this embodiment of wisdom. It ain't easy, Amy. I have worked with you personally, so I understand that it is a step-by-step standard expansion. But what I really want the audience to hear today is about Amy Allchurch, this young lady that went on a journey of expansion and, in my eyes, completely changed the face of what is essentially a cosmic system, a deep, ancient wisdom system that is now being really used in the mainstream as a way to access our inner gold. So can you take us back to little Amy in the beginning and give us a bit of an idea of who she was, how she grew up, what were her temperaments, etc.?
Oh my goodness. Okay. So thank you. This is so exciting. So for your audience that is aware of human design, I'm a projector. So looking back on my life, I've been very projector my entire life. I'm a 5/1 splenic projector. So everything when I learned about human design, I was like, oh, nailed it, done it, am it. You know, when I really started to dive into my 5/1 splenic projector, I've been that my entire life. So I am the youngest of 3. I have 2 older brothers. My parents, we grew up in a very, like, you would say, your middle class family, right? My parents worked really hard. There was a lot of like, we save in order to go on to go to a cottage for the summer. All my family would be together. You know, we're sharing things. I have a really big extended family, so lots of cousins, but always very responsible because I was the first girl cousin in my entire family. The youngest, again, girl. We have a big age gap between my oldest brother is 9 years older. So I was very raised by all of them, but at the same time, very independent, right? I was given a lot of independence, a lot of responsibility, and I was able to handle that. I also really liked my alone time. So as I grew up and I had all these little cousins, you know, I was looking after them and babysitting, and they'd have sleepovers. And I remember saying to my mom, like, okay, I want to go to bed. I'm tired. Where can I go to sleep? Like at my grandma's on a Friday night. She's always like, you were the best kid, because I was just so like easy is what she would say. But I remember really craving that space. So as I grew up and I would have, you know, my small friend group, so very intimate best friends. I never really cared about like the big groups and being friends with everyone and being super busy. So everything made so much sense. And then even like leadership, I was valedictorian in grade 8. Like I really did have that leadership role of that 5 line. But still very confused at how that all fits into life, right? Because everything is supposed to be busy and go. And I would hit that burnout. I did have a lot of health things going on as I was growing up, just such as like low energy, or I was always trying to maximize, like, how do I get more energy? Should I be eating healthier? What kind of exercises should I do to really feel solid? So fast forward into life, I went to university, I went to teachers college, I got a teaching job right away and hit massive burnout. Like I was struggling. Went through like a phase of depression. I had lived away from home um, my first year of teaching, teachers college and teaching. And I was like really in this state of like, oh my gosh, like I'm giving everything to everyone else. And like, how do I manage? So I ended up losing a lot of weight. I was just like, wanted to be alone all the time. And my parents were like, what can we do? What can we do? It's like, nothing, you know? But I really had to figure out saying no to things. And I remember that first year of teaching, I said no to things that I probably shouldn't have in order to save my energy and make sure I was okay to show up the next day and really give all of my energy while I was there. And then I ended up getting a permanent job teaching. I got married. I had my first daughter. And when I had my first daughter, I hit massive burnout again, like the health stuff, right? The energy. It was like up all night. It was breastfeeding. Like, I don't know how to do it. So I went on a very big journey of health, of figuring out what sensitivities I had, supplements to be taking. And really, that was actually my intro into entrepreneurhood because I started these supplements and there was like marketing for that and self development and gratitude. I was like, what is this world? So from there, I remember my best friend, Liz Coyles, who worked at Align by Design for a while. She was like, if you weren't a teacher, what would you be? And I was like, there, what? Like nobody's ever asked me that question, right? It was very like, this is what I'm going to do. I didn't know a whole other world that existed. So I was like, I don't know. Like that moment was really big for me and understanding there's actually there's so much you don't know. And there's other careers and jobs and lifestyles and wealth and opportunities. So from there, I kind of just did like little on the side fitness stuff and got my toes wet. And oh my gosh, I could be making side money. Like it was very cool. Ended up leaving where I was living, moved back to my hometown with my husband at the time. We got pregnant right away with my second. And that's when life really started changing. So my relationship started to become very rocky. He was on a very different path I wasn't aware of, but I could tell, you know. I was substitute teaching here in London because I couldn't get permanent right away. And I really started seeing these two roads in my life. Like there's a whole other world outside of teaching. I don't need to be locked into something. He is going down this path and, you know, I'm just open to opportunities on this path. Like, let's see what happens. So I remember the feeling of surrender in that time of like, there's got to be something more and not knowing any of what was to come.
Wow. There's so much there. I mean, I love that. Thank you. Thank you for painting that picture for us to give us that, you know, those steps that you can feel the natural steps of, you know, I'm going to grow up, I'm going to go to university, I'm going to get the job, I'm going to get married, going to get the kids. But like you said, there was burnout along the way. And those moments, like you said, kind of take you on these little other trajectories, these little branches of the tree. So before we kind of deepen this story, give us an idea of, you know, you mentioned supplements, you mentioned I can do something on the side, you know, there's something out there for me. Take us into like, how did human design come into it then?
Yeah, so this was when I was on maternity leave with my second daughter. So during that time, it was like this exploration again of like, okay, what's going to pop into my world? Kind of excited about the possibilities. Online was starting to pick up at that time. So this would have been in 2017 to 2018. And during that time, Alex Crothers, who is well known on the internet now too, she was like, I went to high school with her and I saw her doing Instagram stuff. And she was really the first person where I was like, whoa, what is she doing? So she was doing life coaching. So I was like, you know what? Like, my husband's doing his thing. I'm going to go do my thing one night a week. I signed up with her. I had no idea. I remember her being like, you know, was there any trauma you experienced growing up? I was like, what does that even mean? You know? So it was like a very opening of like, okay, I know I'm meant for more. Like, let's get into this. And then from there, it was 2018 when human design actually came into my life. And I was on a run. I was listening, earpods in, and it was just on a podcast, like just coincidental podcast. And I was like, what is this? I sprinted home. I'm not even kidding you. I went right to my computer, looked it up. I was like, I'm a projector. I'm a 5-1 Sputnik projector. Like everything made sense. And I was like, well, so at the time, again, I had been teaching. I was doing coaching on the side, not really. Like it was actually the very first month was the first month that I found human design that I launched my first online program. I think I got 7 people in. It was just like, I just went for it. And at this point, I had already invested over $10,000 in a business that didn't exist until that very moment. And I was like, boom, let's do it. This makes sense. I had the summer off, and all of a sudden, people were finding me. They're like, can I be your one-to-one client? I was like, absolutely. And that summer, I started really playing with my design and understanding my design, understanding it for my kids. I didn't talk about it online, but I just was witnessing the magic of everything happening as I became the projector that I felt I already was. And as I trusted myself to make those moves, to work less, to work how I wanted to work, to really follow my spleen, and begin to notice what wasn't aligned for me.
Wow. So thank you. I mean, as a mother, I also know that to be learning on the side, to be, you know, creating something on the side takes a lot of energy. And also as the projector that needs a lot of time and space, that's quite a big commitment. But it feels like what you're saying is something was taking you there, whether, you know, you had the time or not. It was opening you, you sprinted back, you got there. It's like something was moving you towards that. How can you explain that sort of energy?
Oh my gosh, literally the best way I can explain it is obviously everything in hindsight, but I needed to be on that path in order for me to be good when everything began to fall apart in my personal life. And it was like, for whatever reason, I was so, I mean, obviously the passion, but I was so happy Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday night doing my own thing. Well, again, my husband was on this very different path and he was going into this darkness. And I was like, all right, you do me. And well, I'm here. There was no bitterness. There was no resentment. I was happy. I was excited. I was passionate. I was like, yay, I have this time, you know, and I really dove in. So it's kind of like when you can't explain why you're so excited about something, whether that's the learning or the connection, but you know, you just had to be there. And with that, it was like, don't be annoyed by anything else. Like there was no annoyance. Like it was just so clean, which is so weird, but it was so clean. So it was just this pull where I had to be in that place, and I was excited to be there and happy to be there. And thank God, you know, I look back and I'm like, that's why I let myself do it. That's why I didn't, you know, wasn't upset about anything. That's why I had the space. Like the rearranging in my life was just so divine.
So, okay, so divine, so divine. You mentioned God, you mentioned divine, you mentioned I'm happy over here, no matter what's kind of going on over there. There's a lot of people that may think, and not necessarily this audience, but potentially people in their lives that think human design, astrology, any of kind of the ancient wisdoms, that the gene keys, for example, the I Ching, all of those kind of energies are a bit of hocus pocus, and that potentially someone like yourself who is in a partnership that potentially is on that way, splitting down different tracks, find it difficult to follow their passion, find it difficult to follow something that they can feel is powerful for them. They can feel they trust in it. They can feel, like you said, I am a splenic projector. Oh my gosh, I know this without knowing it. That is me. So they find it, they know it without knowing it. It is me. And yet they're being kind of pulled back. Talk to us about any moments that maybe that occurred for you, particularly, you know, this is a young mother with 2 young children, possibly another one around the corner. You know, what was that band of time like for you? Was it as a woman?
Yeah, I mean, it was frustrating for sure in moments because there was like this feeling. This is where it gets so interesting because I was very alone in my parenting. Like it was literally me. I was doing all of the things. I mean, my kids were young enough. I'd put them to bed at 7:30 and still have a good chunk of my night, but it was alone, right? But I really like what I was learning and what I was picking up. First of all, again, as simple as it is, so gratitude. Like I was so grateful for what I did have, what I could do, the happiness, like the intentionality I was putting into my life and memories and moments, and also the ability to surrender. Like he's where he is. I can do my part, but I can't force anything,
Mm.
you know? And really this just like the spaciousness of what was created was in moments frustrating, but at the same time, I was happy. Like I couldn't
Mm.
question the happiness, you know? And I also began to understand in moments where it was like, so fast forward a little while forward, he did reveal some information to me of like me understanding what kind of path he was on, you know, in his own journey, where I was really able to detach from the scenario and be like, okay, you know, this is where he is. I can support him as a partner, but anything beyond that, like I can't until he does his own healing. And I think, again, the work that I was doing behind the scenes really gave me that understanding of like, he's got to heal himself. And I can only support as much as I can support. And from there, I have to detach. So I understood that so well and was able to show up for him and gave a lot. And at the same time, I was like, I can't burn myself out by giving everything to him. I've got two little kids. I mean, at this time, again, I was pregnant with my third. I have a third, and I have to take radical responsibility for myself first. I can support him. I will support him, but radical responsibility is on me for me. And that's when I ended up leaving teaching. So I stepped away from teaching and I was like, because I started getting a lot of anxiety. I was like at work, everything, it took everything in me to get to work, being pregnant, knowing what was going on with him, getting the two girls off to school and daycare. And then I get to work. And again, I have all of these beautiful 25 little children at me who would just deserve the world. And I was like, oh my God, like now I got to turn it on for this. I remember having literally 5 minutes and I would breathe and be like, okay, flip the switch from being like, what the fuck is going on in my, sorry, what is going on in my life to like, oh, okay, these kids deserve all of me right now. Let's do it. And then throughout my day, like on lunch break, I would just go into my classroom, close the door, and again, disconnect, recharge, send out an email in my business, like really do the things where I'm like, I got to take this time. Whatever I can find in the day for me is mine. And I have no guilt, not sitting in the staff room, not socializing with anybody else. Like I have to. And then that's where I was like, I got to step away from this. I have to take a leave. I'm going to go all in on my business. I'm going to just, again, radical responsibility of where I feel pulled. And I can't stay here for anyone else. I can't stay teaching for anyone else. I can't do it because my parents are going to be disappointed or question what's going on. I can't give explanations to everybody because nobody knew what was going on in my personal life at that time. And I was like, I just have to do this. So I did it. I got a lot of flack, a lot of feedback that was not positive because again, people didn't understand. They had no idea what was happening. And until I was ready to give more details and information, I really was standing on my own 2 feet saying like, I have to build my personal power right now. And these are moments and tests where I get to.
Mm. So one of the things that really attracts me and many others into your field is this deep, I mean, ironically, alignment, you know, this beautiful alignment. And I think to give it more kudos is actually there's a level of respect for other people's alignment too. There's a real, you mentioned their personal power. This personal power coupled with something else that you mentioned, misunderstanding. And for sure, I can see that the brand that we get to talk about is built on both of these energies where it's like, I have my personal power, I respect where you are, but I also get to be in my own alignment, even if you get to misunderstand me. And I
Yeah.
feel like there's this bridge there of faith. I feel like there's this faith that runs, or I feel that from you. And I'd really love to share with our audience, because look, this is an ordinary story and not an ordinary story at the same time. You know, there's many women out there that are feeling similar to that Amy. You know, children maybe not aligned with their partner, really want a passion project, have got something going on, but finding it hard to stand in their power, finding it hard to be okay with being misunderstood. And I feel like that's your diamond. You know, give us some juice on that. Share how you got there.
Yeah, thank you. I mean, it was really hard because you do have to be willing to stand alone. And you do have to be willing to feel insanely uncomfortable. I remember going to family events, or even, you know, him at the time, his family, and feeling like the elephant in the room, feeling like the black sheep, because nobody would ever talk to me about me, you know. And it was a very bizarre thing, because you go to parties and people are like, how's work? Like, no one would mention anything, because they would see me online, they would see what I'm doing, they'd see what I'm talking about. So even with him, there was this sense of like, I cannot and will not bring you to a place that you don't want to be. So I think that practice really helps me stand on my own 2 feet and be like, if you're not willing to be over here, I have no energy to try to make you come over here. I will do my thing. I will make sure that I'm happy. I will give to myself, and that's it. So that carried over into, I think, one of the biggest things that I learned along this journey with him, with my family, with being online, you know, friendships, was these really difficult conversations. And as you can begin to develop how you communicate to the people that you love the most and mean the most to you, and begin to share, here's who I am, here's what I'm doing, here's what is important, here's what I'm going to do, without looking for input or advice, but still coming in with that compassion. I know you may not understand it. I know you may not like it, but I'm going to anyways. You know, how can I make you feel comfortable in this? How can I help you understand this? Do you have any questions? By really being the leader in those conversations, which, believe me, were like the last things I ever wanted to do. But those were big moments where I was like, okay, this isn't for me. This is. These people matter to me a lot. Give them an opportunity to still love me the best that they can, to understand me the best that they can, and to invite them into my world as I create it, so I don't feel like I have to just belong in their world.
That is so juicy. I want everyone to go back, rewind, listen to that again, because like you said, it's hard, this journey. And like I said, we get to go further down this line now, but it's not easy. It's simple. It's so simple. Write down the steps on a piece of paper, off you go, personal growth, look at you, you're winning. But the energy that we get to transmute, the power, the shaking that we get to hold as we, you know, use our voices, use our bodies to move into these new paradigms, these new places, particularly as young women with children. In an online, very visible space. So, Amy, take us to that crux point. You're going all in. You've done it. You know, you're having these conversations, you're moving through these conversations, things shift in your marriage, and all of a sudden, Align by Design becomes like this sensation online. Talk us through this moment.
This was so crazy. So 2020, January 2020, was when my ex, like, everything blew up. Like, literally, when I say life can change like that, life changed like that. I was like, goodbye, out the door, never came back. Like, I'm not kidding you, never came back. And that was the moment where I really developed faith, actually. So I was like, okay, like, everything is happening for a reason. What do I do? Who do I call? What do I say? You know, and really standing in my own, again, personal power, leadership, and then all of a sudden leaning into faith. So when he left, I mean, every financial support was completely gone. I was doing really well at the time. I think the month before I had like a 40K, 50K month, something like that. But then that month I went into less than 10K. So I literally, my, like when I say my life, like everything came crashing down. I was like, what is happening? And I remember everybody's eyes looking at me. Like I will never forget this for like those 2 months, everyone being like, are you okay? Are
Mm.
you okay? And like looking at me like, what is she gonna do? Like she's not okay. This isn't gonna be okay. And I was like, I'm all right. You know, I've got this. We've got this. Like, I'm going to figure this out. I'm going to figure this out. Like, how can we help you? I remember my family would come over. I'd literally go for a run in like the month of January. It didn't matter what the weather was like. I was like, I just need to go for a run and I've got this. And I had a 4-month-old baby at the time, exclusively breastfeeding. Like he was very little, the 2 little ones. So it was literally crazy, but I chose faith when nothing made sense. Like my parents were like, you can go back to teaching. I was like, no, 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 no. My mentor, Melanie Ann Lair, was like, do you want to, you know, take a break on mentorship? I was like, no, 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 no. Like we are going. I need all the support I can get right now because this is happening. So I had launched, actually had planned for in February of 2020, the brand Aligned by Design to officially be born. And I remember that weekend too, or that day, there was a huge ice storm. The power was out in my house. I had the baby home. I had no nanny at the time. I literally called my dad. I was like, are you home? I brought my ring light. I brought my computer. I brought the baby. Like, I'm like, I just need an hour and a half. Our Zoom didn't work. So I had Liz, I had Libby at the time. We were all supposed to be online together. We all had to go off into individual sessions. I was like, it's okay. This all happened for a reason. It all happened for a reason. It all happened for a reason. So nothing went right. Like when people are like, it's so easy. I'm like, no, I just navigate really fast. Nothing was going right. I wasn't making the money that I thought I was going to be making. I literally was like, how am I going to pay for everything? I don't know. Like I literally didn't know. And I just kept going. And during that time, like the faith I developed, I was just like praying to God every moment. Like I would have breakdowns. I would just be like, I give this to you. Like everything that's heavy, I give this to you. You're working through me. Like there's something else that you're showing me like that I don't understand if I wasn't willing to be so, you know, vulnerable right now. Like you're working through me, you're working through me, you're working through me. And I give this heaviness to you so that I can show up. So I remember, just lost an earring, breastfeeding my son. And somebody messaged me and was like, I want to do your human design certification, Babes of HD. It sent me a pay in full link. And I cried. I went down on my knees. I cried and I was like, oh my God, this is what faith is. Like, this is it. Just keep going. It's happening. Like, I didn't even know her. She reached out of the blue and I was like, oh my God, everything's going to be okay. And I literally from that moment was just like, everything's okay. We stepped forward. I moved on and just let it all explode. So that was February of 2020. And by May of 2020, I had a 6-figure cash month, which makes no sense. So it's crazy. And that was the faith. I just didn't stop. I didn't look at things in a way of limitations. And I developed like this energy of like, everything is working for me, even when it looks like it's not. And I can't listen to anybody else. I just have to be in the zone.
Oh, my heart is like, it's fearful, you know, and I'm sure everyone can feel that because they can feel your energy as you're going through it. Like everything that could can go wrong goes wrong. And it's like, what are you going to do at that point? And I feel like there's this cosmic humor when you walk with faith in leadership. It's like this humor that, are you really willing to be a leader in your life? Are you really willing? Because we can put in some spanners in the works, and it's the energy that you get to play in that actually creates that ease and that flow and that fun. And like you said, that me moment, that faith, like, oh, I'm going to be okay. I just needed one shred of evidence, and actually now I'm calm. And, you know, for everyone listening, from February to May, to be in that speed of alignment is a very, very powerful and pretty unheard of energy inside of the coaching industry. Although we're seeing pops of things happening now, let's remember, this was pandemic. You know, this was the pandemic. So I'm curious. I'm curious to know. You get this six-figure month. You know, you're a single mom now.
Mhm.
You've got the little ones, and life has just completely changed in an instant, like you said.
Mhm.
Who does Amy become in those moments? You know, how did you go from there to this, the mentor for human design on the planet?
Yeah, I mean, I was so grateful. Like, I think people don't understand, especially when you're in like going from the darkest of dark and the lowest of low and like where my life could have gone. Like, I was so grateful. Like, for every $1 that came in, for every person that would message me, like so grateful. And I think with that gratitude, and this is again where the world shut down, and I was like, anything that I was actually grateful for that. Like literally everything that happened in my life, I was like, this is all working. Like I'm so grateful. Like thank God the world shut down because now, I have my kids in my own little bubble to transition them through this hard time. We have so much more flexibility. There's so much less life stress going on.
Yeah.
And I was like, it all was just working. And I constantly saw it as that. So as I stepped into that, excitement and gratitude, it became very contagious. And also this inner privacy, like I wasn't sharing this with the world, like it was very much like it was going on in my own life. So I think becoming like the mentor and, the leader and the person happened so much of really true embodiment. Like I really was doing it behind the scenes and I would bring forward the aspects that I was just so grateful for and excited to be talking about and sharing with the world. And, all of the knowledge that I've been working on for the last 2 years of learning this, I was like, why, what do I have to lose? At that point, I really understood, like, I literally have nothing to lose.
Mm.
Like, I can only make my life better from this point on. So why would I not? So with that, and then being able to then impact other people's lives and seeing their lives get better, I'm like, this is just like the best thing in the entire world. I'm winning, they're winning, everybody's winning right now. And life just gets to get better from what I get to pass on from my personal experiences, from my education, from human design, from my own leadership. Like everything happened for me to stand in this power to share with other people.
Mm.
Yeah.
The deliciousness of this journey, and the, the sparkle of the shock. You are gate of shock, and I'd love for you to share a little bit about how other people, you mentioned I'm impacting other people now, and this is something that I deeply, deeply love. This, you are the medicine, not just for yourself, but
Mm-hmm.
primarily for yourself. But then as you embody it, you mentioned the word embody, you start to send these ripples out to other people. It can look like in the online space that it's for me. I'm doing it for me, it's a business, and yeah, of course, there's part of that. But there's a deeper, deeper energy, particularly when we're working with these cosmic systems, that is, it's not just for me, it's for others as well, and for others to take out into the world. I feel like there's a deeper agenda, a bigger agenda,
Yeah.
much bigger than our lifetimes, possibly. How do you relate to that? And what have you got to share with others about their own medicine, how they can access it if they're inspired by you and your journey?
I think you worded that so beautifully because, especially with human design, even astrology, right? It's not about you. Like when you're teaching about astrology, when I'm teaching about human design, it's very rarely actually about us. It is about them. So we're teaching them to understand themselves better. So when we look at the coaching business, we're not like, here's what I did, to make my money. It's here's what I need to understand about you. Here's what you need to understand about you. And here's where we're going to fill the gaps so that you can feel completely aligned, or you can feel like yourself. You can understand yourself and take that power and run with it. So it becomes about them. So as much as my business, again, is you see me as me, and I talk about me a lot, it ultimately, all the work I do is about everybody else, right? So it's coming in and me learning about your past, your history, your conditioning, looking at your chart to understand what you're telling me and how that plugs into your chart, then what I get to share about you and bring that to the world, and let you access the power that you already have and go deeper into that with you. So our work when we're utilizing these systems is literally focused on the other.
Mm.
Which then when they take it, they stand in their power, and whatever medicine they have, whether it is about them or utilizing a system, gets to come out to the world. But if they don't unlock that, which is why I think all of these systems that we do utilize are so critical, when we don't unlock that in ourselves, we're not going to unlock the medicine for anybody else. So it is something that is necessary if we're doing this work to understand ourselves to possibly impact anybody else in their lives.
Mm. And I love that. I love the way you've shared that, because there's a lot of selfish versus self-first at the moment in this industry, and it is an industry now. You know, a few years ago there was no such thing as this industry, whereas I'm now seeing healers becoming coaches and vice versa, because there's this energy of this medicine. Like, I'm a human being before I'm anything else. I'm a human being, and I get to clean my own energy first. And from that, there are going to be people that are magnetized towards me that want to understand how they can clean their energy too. Mm-hmm. Talk to us about this misunderstanding again, then, because we're now in an industry that is online with multi-millionaire coaches, that there is this duality that we see between, you know, I'm a humble medicine energy, I'm clean, and yet I've just made 7 figures. And there's still, I believe anyway, this dissonance between muddy money and clean heart, and how that starts to shape people's perceptions of this work. Share with us what you see and what you're experiencing in your business.
I think, first of all, people have to go in and remain open-minded. I think people come into the world of coaching or this industry, the online space, with either a conception, like a belief already about it, or an open mind. And it depends what way we enter in and let ourselves maintain. Like, I remember when I came into the industry and I was like, oh, what is this? People can, you literally, I could make my own hours. Like, that's wicked. I could make money. Amazing. I could help people. Amazing. Like, I was so open to learning all about it, and I didn't have that taint. I think now there's a very tainted part of the industry that people come in already feeling very tainted, or only want to see that. There is good and bad in this industry. Wholeheartedly there is. We have to let ourselves be pulled and gravitate towards the places that feel good. And I think that's the biggest thing, is just why, you know, even in my story and my journey, why would I waste my time and energy on something that is dark? Like, let's just move to the light, seek the light, be open to the light, you know, and let yourself play there. I think also in our society, we haven't adapted that money gets to be good. So when people see or hear, or they're not making the money that somebody else is making, or celebrating or living the way that they want to, you know, potentially be living, there's also the societal, like, it is bad. It is bad to live the way you want to live, to live by design, to have the wealth you want to have, to, you know, do all of the things. And people forget that people are human, because our industry is about showing, I don't even say the highlight reels, but like, there is, you know, in my life, I try to be as vulnerable and open as humanly possible, but there's also stuff that, like, I'm like, I don't know, just what I'm going through. It's what I'm working on. I'll share it when I share it, if it's relevant to be sharing, you know. I'm not on there as a content creator. So I think there is, like, still this business that we are running versus content creators who are just on TikTok sharing, you know, 10 parts of their day today, where we are building businesses, helping other people build businesses, wealth, integrity, alignment. And that takes a lot of work. So to be able to do that and share what is relevant in our business gets to be up to us. So the wealth is societal and how the lens that we look through, I believe. The choices and personal power and radical responsibility to either play in the dark and give your energy there or go to the light is up to us. It gets to be that clean. Choose a path, get there, or, just admit that you're there, and then just let yourself decide for you. I think there's also a huge pressure we have to take off ourselves because people are seeing success, my success, your success, anybody else's success, and being like, oh my God, why am I not getting it? Why do I not have it yet? And again, we have to go into how much work we're doing behind the scenes in our lives, in our development, in our energy, in our field, and really just focus there. The money will find us, and confidence and trust and personal power. The money will find you, but you have to really be clean about it. And you have to trust the process. Like there was no part in my mind where I was like, I'm making six figures by this time. Like it happened because of the work I did behind the scenes, right? And I've gone on a journey where I've had ups and downs, and I've had to step away, and I've got to lean in, and it's all part of this bigger process, but we have to be all in on that. We can't be in with the expectation of.
Mm. I think people just go back and listen to that one riff because it's so powerful to be all in. And I know when I've not been all in, the results don't come. You can feel your energy not being in alignment. But I like the way you just said, choose a path. There's that path or there's that path. You can't be on both paths. You must choose a path. And until you are ready to do that, then the result that you're looking for possibly isn't going to arrive because it's not aligned with anything in particular. There's like a confusion. So,
and I think, so I just want to add something. I think like we're also, like when you were saying, I was like, I'm just unbothered by it. So I think when we're bothered by it, that is a big mirror that we're bothered by a lot of other places in our lives. So if somebody were to say to you, your energy is too much online, of like family member, you would probably be bothered by that too, as you're bothered by the coaches or the celebration or the way somebody else is doing something. So when we're bothered by something in the industry, we're going to be bothered in life. When we're unbothered, we're in our own zone. So we have to have that practice of being unbothered, being aware and, conscious, but unbothered, because you're not going to practice that. So go do your thing.
Again, diamonds, these diamond, and it's a facet of a diamond, because being unbothered comes with understanding you're going to be misunderstood, feeling that coming through your body, through your energy, still standing for what you believe in, and being in this trust and this faith that you mentioned, that there is no timeline that we create. We must be trustful of the process. We must have faith that there is good behind our back, whatever you want to call it, that things are happening for me, not to me. And I'd love for you to kind of give us some of your medicine around human design, because I feel like, I've worked with you, and it's not always been the human design. That's been a route to your heart. And actually there's wisdom in there that's not just the HD, but that is a vessel to bring out this deep leadership, this deep wisdom, this deep integrity that I feel from you. What do you get to leave us with then around that, and around the human design, around integrity, and around building our own vessels for medicine?
Okay, I think the biggest thing, as you were saying, integrity, human design, our alignment, our energy, is we have to be willing to re-navigate, look at ourselves, ask ourselves, are we in alignment? Because I think a lot of times we look at it like it's working now, so it should still be working. In my own life, I've gone through obviously radical changes, and I'm now in a blended family of 7, a new relationship, still new, a house, renos. Like my life compared to the 2020 when everything was like, woo, it is way busier. It is way bigger. So I've had to sit and be like, now what's alignment for me? Now what's integrity for me? Now how do I need to show up for me? How do I need to show up for my clients? How do I need to show up for my business? What needs to change, what works, and what doesn't. And I've had to go in numerous times throughout, the last year to question myself and ask myself and raise myself to bigger standards. So human design is the support system that will help you map that out. Your radical responsibility, your integrity, your truth is the only thing your consciousness is the only thing that's going to create the change from that. And we have to adjust that time and time again into our lives, into our energy, into the season that we're in, into our wants, our desires. And we have to reframe that. It is not here's my alignment and it's going to fit me for the rest of my life. If you think that way, that is the biggest limitation. Human design is meant to be limitless. So you're working it the wrong way. We need to work it to our advantage, which means it's always going to be adapting and changing. So I think the biggest wisdom to pour through and understanding this is you, again, are the medicine. You hold the key, but you have to choose. You're turning it inside of that door and unlocking the door and then walking through the door. And you have to be willing to do all of those steps and what that looks like behind the scenes, what that looks like forwardly, and what that looks like internally in order for that to work.
Is alignment, because I was going to say a lot of people are like, what the fuck is alignment? And it's embodying all of the values, all of the steps, inside, outside, behind the scenes, in front of the scenes, in your thoughts as well. Every part of you gets to go. And I love that you mentioned there's a key. You can't really turn the key properly until everything is in alignment. And it makes this supersonic energy. And I feel like I could talk to you forever, but I want to speak very shortly about this incredible alignment that came around your love, your heart. You mentioned there this blended family, this gorgeous partnership. And although relatively new, still incredibly aligned with what it is that you teach. Can you give us a little wink towards love and energy?
Well, first of all, I manifested him. It was like the most beautiful process. And it was like the eye opener of, again, surrender, faith, like another huge experience of faith and letting it happen as it was supposed to happen. He's also, this love in this relationship has also been a huge, again, deepening of personal alignment, of conditioning, of healing. I made a post a week ago or two where it was like, I have been so self-contained, like I can do anything for myself. I, built multi-millions by myself. Like I'm good. And then this man comes in and he's like, give me, what can I help you with? Tell me how you're feeling. And I'm like, I've got this by myself. Thank you. So it's been this bigger learning too of like, what does it feel like to go like this and be in your power? Because I had like missteps of like, okay, if I go like that, I'm losing my power, and it feels good and it feels right, but like, damn, like I gotta keep going. So it's been the most, again, aligned medicine of what I've needed, what we've needed together, and what I bring out in him and what he brings out in me, and how we continue to bring the highest out in ourselves. And that takes work. So I think it's been the most beautiful reminder of alignment is work. It is. It will never end, and it always will be. And it's always a choice, even how I parent. Again, it's a choice as my kids get older. It's a choice of how I decide to create intentionality around a beautiful vacation or a Sunday afternoon at home, right? Everything is intentional, and it takes awareness, and it takes choice, it takes alignment, and it takes energy to put into that.
When do you rest? You're a projector. I'm like, surely she sleeps 24 hours a day. I'm not sure what's going on here. What does Amy do for her own fun?
Oh my gosh. Well, again, it has adjusted as my life has adjusted, but now it's really like every single month, I'm pretty dedicated to taking a weekend. So now my kids do go see their dad every other weekend. I am so dedicated inside of that time to give back to me. And like, I'm doing nothing I do not want to see friends. I'll go with my boyfriend if he wants to join me. If not, I'm happy to go by myself, get a massage, go to a hotel and like cuddle in, watch a movie. Like literally, it's intentional rest and pouring in. I feel like I give to so many people that like I need to give to myself in like the most beautiful, luxurious, like bougie ways humanly possible for me to just like get revived and refreshed and like remember who I am, would turn off that mom mode and go fully into the Amy Elizabeth mode. And that feels so good. Again, it works my energy in different ways because it's a bigger stretch and then like a really deep dive into it and then a bigger stretch and a deeper dive. Whereas before it was like continuous little things, little in order to give me a little. And now it's just bigger, which feels so good right now. And that's how it works.
Oh, Amy, thank you so much for sharing your energy with us today. It's so wonderful to see that the paradigms are being broken, that we can be women, we can be mothers, we can be lovers, we can be millionaires, we can be girls, giggly, we can move into our feminine, but we can also be strong, personal power-led leaders. And not only work on our alignment, you said work, it does take work to align, but there is an incredible reward, not just for ourselves, but for everyone around us. And that takes faith. It takes standing in the trust of the process. And it takes support and love and being with the right people too.
Completely.
What can you share with us on that as we close our conversation?
Never doubt yourself and where you want to go and who you want to be around. Never. Whether that is an up level and you're like, that's who I want to work with them. If it's like, that's who I want to be friends with, go be friends with them. I swear to God, this is like, you want to unlock a key, that will unlock a key for you. We are drawn to people for who they are, the life that they're living, their values, their morals, their energy, their hearts, their souls, their network. Like honestly, whatever it is, wherever you're drawn to, get there. I promise you it will enhance your life, whether that is a mentor, a mastermind, healing, whether it is friendships and relationships and networks. Your life will be enhanced. And honestly, that's probably one of the most courageous things we can do, because we become these little girls. How weird is that to say? Or like, I choose a mentor, stand up to your dream and go do it, and let yourself become that person because you will.
So exciting. I do hope everyone that has been listening to this is feeling as excited and on fire as I am with your passion and your wisdom. Thank you so much, Amy Elizabeth. Where do we find you, as if we didn't know?
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I love you so much, and your heart and your soul and your wisdom. And honestly, your strength and intelligence blows me away all the time. So I love you. You can find me at the Amy Elizabeth and Aligned by Design HD on Instagram. There are some transitions going on, so stay tuned. Shock factor as always. Love it, love it. But just come hang out online. You will find me there. And yeah, those are the most common places. Instagram.
Thank you so much. It has been a pleasure.
Thank you.